Let's get right into it. This is photography focus. I'll have to do a separate video for videography later. I'm going to assume if you're interested in cameras, you at least know what the shutter button is, the viewfinder, the monitor, and the lens cap. If you know what those are, let's jump into the basics of how to use your camera. First, there are automatic and preset settings on your camera that you can shoot with. There's also a manual mode. Manual mode means you set everything yourself. Regardless of if you use the automatic or the manual mode, there are a few terms that you need to know. The ISO button and setting on your camera determine how much light you want the camera to be using, correctly known as how much exposure you want. On most cameras, the ISO goes from about 100 to 25,000. When your ISO is low, that means you're in a bright place because the camera needs to take in less light. If your ISO is higher, that means you're in a place that doesn't have the best lighting or it's dim, so the camera needs to take in more light. Because it's brighter when shooting outdoors, I'd recommend keeping the camera on auto ISO if you're just taking pictures. But when indoor and without proper lighting or abundant natural light, I'd recommend testing the auto ISO, followed by using the manual setting. Second is shutter speed. Your shutter speed determines how fast the shutter is closing to snap an actual picture. If you're just taking a standard clear picture, your shutter speed will be anywhere from about 1/100th of a second to 1/300th. Here's an example. If you're doing long exposure photography, then your shutter speed will be in seconds. If you're trying to capture fast moving things clearly, or something while you are moving fast, for instance in the car, you'll bump the shutter speed up to anything over 1/125th of a second. Here's an example of a picture where I was a fast moving object. I was in a car, and the shutter speed, as you can see, is 1/4000th of a second. Here's another picture where the water was the fast moving object and I was sitting still. It's not all quite in focus, but a lot of the water is in focus, and it's 1/2000th of a second. F-stop determines the depth of field, which means what your camera has in focus. A shallow depth of field means less is in focus, like this picture, and a deep depth of field means many things are in focus. Not like this picture, but like this one, where everything is in focus. I sure do hope this helps out. I tried to focus on the top tier things about using a camera for photography. If you have any questions, ask them. Whether you're getting into modeling or you want to be a photographer, this knowledge helps you understand the work the camera does to produce a dope picture. So enjoy y'all's day and stay hydrated.